Mr. Holden. AB 525. Number 11 on your agenda. This may look familiar to some of you who were here last year.
Yes. I never know. Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. I'm presenting Assembly Bill 525 to modify and modernize the California Franchise Relations Act. I would like to begin by notifying the committee that after several discussions with the opposition, we are working to address their concerns and believe that a compromise is attainable. The evidence of this work are the amendments provided in the committee analysis. If it pleases the chair, I will accept all the amendments provided in the committee analysis except Amendment 6, which clarifies the implementation date. After discussions with all sides, this language needs to be further refined and clarified.
It's fine.
Thank you, Madam Chair. These amendments remove automatic contract renewal, clarify timeliness and timelines, and protect a franchisor's ability to pursue arbitration. As a former small business franchise owner, I can tell you that the one-sided nature of a franchise relationship quickly becomes apparent after signing those documents. The franchisee invests substantial time and money into a franchise, and many realize that the franchisor does not always have their back. Recent whistleblower lawsuits have exposed franchisors engaging in a process known as churning, actively filing questionable violation reports against franchisees in order to take back the business. Once the business is returned to the corporate control, the business is sold to a new franchisee for higher franchise fees. These terrible allegations are compounded by the fact that existing law provides franchisees neutered contract rights. Franchisees can be terminated for good cause, a legal standard rarely used in contract law, and even if the franchisor is in the wrong, the franchisee is severely limited in the equity or damages they can recover, frequently leaving many franchisees penniless. The standard commonly used to judge noncompliance in most other contracts in California is substantial performance. And so Assembly Bill 525 mimics this standard and replaces the current good cause standard with the well-accepted substantial compliance standard for termination of the franchise. Not only does this standard have significant acceptance in California contract law, but it has successfully been used to govern franchise relationships in many other states since the early 1970s. AB 525 also allows franchisees to recover the basic equity investment they have made in their business if the franchisor terminates a relationship with the franchisee. I have extracted this principle directly from the International Franchise Association's own statement of principles. Anytime a franchisor takes over a franchisee's business, the franchisee is entitled to any equity they have built into the business. Finally, Assembly Bill 525 enables franchisees to sell their businesses to a qualified new owner so long as the franchisor approves. These basic changes level the playing field between franchisors and franchisees. Each of the changes proposed are modeled after states with balanced franchise law: New Jersey, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Nebraska, and Rhode Island. There are no shortage of franchise burger stands and donut shops in these states. In fact, numerous corporations are headquartered in these states which have strong franchise laws. AB 525 retains the franchisor's ability to immediately terminate any franchisee caught committing a litany of contract violations, including stealing, violating any federal, state, or local law, repeatedly ignoring franchisor requests, or failing to pay their dues. This bill is simple, straightforward, and protects a franchisee's right as a small business owner. Here to provide testimony for this legislation is Keith Miller for the Coalition of Franchisee Associations, and Peter Legarius, also joining us, and my colleague, Mr. Wilk, who is a joint author. I ask for your aye vote.
Mr. Wilk, would you like to go as a joint author?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a statement. I'm not going to go through it, but I'll tell you, we had SB 610 last session. That may have been too broad. I want to salute Mr. Holt and his staff for taking the governor's veto remarks to heart and refining this bill and working diligently with the opposition. And I believe that this is a very supportable bill for people on both sides of the aisle.
Thank you. In support?
Yes, Madam Chair and Vice Chair and members of the committee, thank you for your time today. My name is Keith Miller. I'm a Subway franchise owner with locations in Auburn and Grass Valley. I'm also chair of the Coalition of Franchisee Associations, which is the largest franchisee organization in the country. We represent only franchisees, and our directors are put on our CFA board by their fellow franchisees. We must remember that it is the franchisees that invest in California and pay taxes here. In fact, for tax purposes, most franchisors claim no business nexus in the state. It is the franchisees that support their communities, and it is the franchisees that create jobs in California. Franchisees work hard to build a profitable business and expect if they play by the rules, they will be allowed to operate unhindered. But that is not always what happens today. This legislation is needed as franchisees are increasingly concerned that they will not be able to realize the fruits of their labor. Without these protections, all may be lost, including their life savings and source of income. And as a point, many of these businesses are backed up by taxpayer-based SBA loans. So when the business fails, the taxpayer also ends up holding the wallet for it. Many franchisees only want to get to the point of passing their business to their children, and in that way realize the American dream. You will hear that franchising creates opportunity, which it can, but do you really think these franchise companies are creating the opportunity out of the goodness of their heart? Of course not. They franchise because the asset-light business model gives them a great return on their investment. If this bill was such a threat as they claim, let's think about last year, when SB 610 made it to the governor's desk. Remember, about 10% of franchises in this country are in California. If it was going to destroy franchising as we know it, shouldn't public companies have had to tell their shareholders of this great risk and even notify the SEC? They didn't, and in fact, chains like Dunkin' Donuts started aggressive expansion into the state, all while the bill sat on the governor's desk. And let's look at what the opposition, led by the IFA, has said about this bill. Through a franchisee, Jeff Tews, they claim to speak on behalf of the 80,000 franchise locations in California. Well, stating you do doesn't make it true, and they don't speak for me. What is really interesting is that Mr. Tews owns Bright Star franchises in Wisconsin. Wisconsin has some of the strongest termination and renewal laws in the country under the Wisconsin Fair Dealership Law. The termination standard in AB 525 is almost identical to the Wisconsin law.
Are you concluding?
Yeah, I'm right at the end. So I guess what Mr. Tews is saying is that, as spokesman for the IFA, we in California shouldn't have the same protections he has in his own state. I respectfully ask the committee for an A vote.
Thank you. Yes, in support.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My name is Peter Ligarius. I'm an attorney practicing in San Rafael, California. I got into franchise law by happenstance working for a federal agency that passed the franchise disclosure law. Since then, I've been in private practice for 30 years. I want to make a couple comments about the nature of franchising. Franchising needs to be distinguished from employment. Everyone who works at a job suffers greatly if they lose their job, usually. But when you lose a franchise, it's a little different. Most franchisees put their life savings into these businesses. They buy, build out of a store. They buy equipment that they can't resell. They often take loans out on their homes. They're what we call all in. They sign long-term commercial leases. You cannot get out of commercial leases easily in California or elsewhere. They are all in. This statute's talking about termination, renewal, and transfers. They've got all this invested. I want to tell you, when these clients come to my office, they're in tears. They're losing everything. They lose their homes. They go bankrupt. Some of them get divorced. I haven't had this, but I'm aware of franchisees committing suicide because they're getting terminated. This is serious business. And when you're a franchisee and you get a threat, not even a termination, but a default notice, it is scary. And what this bill is doing is a modest protection. The IFA say it's going to change the landscape. Well, the bill we currently have does very little for franchisees. This bill is going to fix part of it. But if you're concerned about franchisors, they have 11 ways to terminate almost immediately in the current statute. They built that into a statute that was supposed to protect California franchisees. Those things are not being changed. If a franchisee doesn't pay their bills and they're given 5 days' notice, that franchisee can still be terminated. If a franchisee is violating the law or has unsafe health conditions, they can still be terminated. But what this bill is trying to correct is the what I call the ticky-tacky foul. You should not be terminated for a minor breach. And as Assemblyman Holden has said, we're going to put in substantial compliance. It's a wonderful change. It's not revolutionary. You left out Arkansas. Arkansas has this language already. The final thing about the bill, the current statute, which is really was a phony bill when it was passed. I've never gotten relief for my clients under this statute, and I've been doing this 30 years. There's no real damages or other remedy. If you're terminated or not renewed in violation of the statute, the current remedy is that the franchisor has to buy your inventory.
Okay.
And that is meaningless to most franchisees. So this provides for reinstatement or fair market value of the franchise. Thank you.
Significant. Yes. Okay. Opposition. Others in support. I guess we have some other folks here who might want to speak in support. Just name an organization fast as you can.
Michael Young, California Labor Federation, here in support.
Thank you.
Catherine Slater Carter, ex-McDonald's franchisee, and with California Fair Franchise Association. This is one small step, as Peter said. We have a lot of work. I look forward to help from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Scott Hauke, Small Business California, in support.
Thank you.
Tia Orr on behalf of SEIU in support.
7-Eleven franchisee Baldev Singh Dhiman from LA, support this bill, please.
Thank you.
Suki Sandhu, 7-Eleven franchisee, Stockton, Modesto, Manteca area. I support this bill.
Jiftesh Gill, franchisee Arco AMPM, so Subway, as well as 7-Eleven. Would like your support, please. Thanks.
Harvinder Sidhu from San Fernando Valley, Los Angeles, and I support this bill.
Thank you.
Hitpal Diol, I'm a franchisee for Subway in Butte County, and I would like to see your support.
Good morning, David Chase with Small Business Majority, and we're in support.
Good morning, everyone. Raj Broad from Sacramento, Roseville. I would like to get your support. Thank you.
Good morning. Amon Rice, 7-Eleven franchisee, West Sacramento. Need your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Balwinder Singh, 7-Eleven franchisee from Thousand Oaks. I would like to support your bill. Thanks.
Lali Gill from Chico, Subway Sound franchisee. Please support the bill.
Kevin Niger, Los Angeles. I would like your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Roger Atwal from 7-Eleven franchisee. Please support that bill.
Jasavir Rana from Sacramento, franchise of 7-Eleven, Chevron, and Shell. I'd like to support that bill. Thanks.
Lochan Rangi from San Bernardino, California, and AMPM and Bolero franchisee, and ask your support. You can help the fair franchisee out there. They have so much fear from the franchisor.
Thank you.
Jazz Dillon, 7-Eleven franchisee from 7-Eleven, strongly support the bill. Thank you.
Arvind Chahal, 7-Eleven franchisee, please support the bill.
Thank you. Opposition?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Randy Pollock on behalf of the International Franchise Association. The association represents about 1,000 franchisors and 12,000 franchisees, representing about 100 different brands. We would like to thank Assemblyman Holden and Speaker Atkins for working with us to try to resolve our concerns. We're very appreciative of the latest amendments, and we're reviewing them today. We look forward to getting together with his office over the next week or two, and hopefully we will be able to resolve our concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Others in opposition?
Thank you, Chairwoman and members. Kate Bell with Capital Advocacy on behalf of the California Retailers Association. Still in opposition, but we appreciate the amendments as taken today and look forward to continued discussions. Thank you.
All right. Any questions from committee members? Yes, Mr. Jones.
Mr. Holden, thank you. As you are well aware, last year's bill I voted against. I think this bill is moving in a good direction. I don't think I'm quite there yet, but getting there. So I'm going to lay off today and hopefully be able to get to a support position eventually. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Dodd?
Yeah, I put in a lot of time on this one, and as a I've probably bought and sold 7 franchises or more in my career in the water business, and I really believe these represent some really modest changes that really make sense and protect franchisee rights, basic rights, in the way I look at it. One of the things I see here is just one word that I would hate to have somebody say, well, geez, the intent of this is wrong. The committee staff, I guess, is saying add the following language to ensure that a franchisee would not be able to file suit to seek additional remedies if the franchise is sold by a franchisee before the franchise relationship is terminated. I think the staff got that absolutely right. But in the language, it says, notwithstanding subdivision B, should the franchisee sell, transfer, or assign, and then the word any franchise assets before the valuation is made, the sale price shall be deemed the monetized value of the equity of that franchise asset. My concern about this is just for the franchisees, and maybe the attorneys can speak to it, maybe it's de minimis, but if there was if a franchisee knew that he was being terminated and there was another franchisee that wanted something that he had and he sold that asset to them before this evaluation was done, they could come in and say, I'm sorry, that's the value of the property. So I mean, I'm just looking at this through the lens of a franchisee, and I'd like your response.
I think you raise a good point, and we'll look at the fine print and advise the assemblyman.
Yeah, I just think that any could be removed, and it would still have the same full force of what the intent as mentioned by the committee staff.
Right.
Okay. Mr. Gatto.
Thank you. First of all, lunch on Mr. Dodd, buying and selling 6 or 7 franchises. Thank you. Secondly, I just want to thank all of the guys and gals who came up from Los Angeles, from our area, to testify in favor of this bill. Your presence is duly noted. You are small business people who anchor our communities, and I just want to thank all of you for making your voices heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Holden, and for the hard work on this bill. And if there are concerns, you can address them as it moves forward. This bill is due pass as amended, but it goes straight to the floor for a vote. So if there's any changes that need to be made, you'll have to make them in the Senate. So that will take a vote.
Bonilla.
Aye.
Bonilla, aye. Jones.
Not voting.
Jones not voting. Baker. Baker not voting. Bloom. Bloom, aye. Berg. Berg, aye. Chang. Chang not voting. Dodd. Dodd, aye. Eggman. Gatto. Gatto, aye. Holden.
Aye.
Holden, I. Mullen. Mullen, I. Ting. Ting, I. Wilk.
Aye.
Wilk, I. Wood. Wood, I.
10-0, that measure is out. Congratulations, Mr. Holden.
Thank you.
Next, Ms. Bonilla has a couple of committee bills, I believe. Do you want to take AB 178 first?
Certainly.
This
Move
was a
both
candidate-
bills.
So we've got a motion on 178. Do I have a second? This was a candidate for consent and for some reason got overlooked. Is there, Ms. Bonilla, if you can indulge me, I'll just see if there's opposition real quick and maybe we can just move on
Certainly.
to the vote. Is there any opposition to AB 178? Any member comments on AB 178? Seeing none, we'll move to the vote. Do you wish to speak in favor? Okay, sorry.
Kobe Pizzati with California Association of Psychiatric Technicians in support.
We have a motion and a second. And any other comments from any witnesses in opposition or in support, since I'm moving rather quickly?
She needs to take the amendments. She talked about the amendments. Is that in there?
Would you like to accept committee amendments?
Yes.
Are we good now?
Motion is due.
We're running on all 8 cylinders.
Motion is due pass as amended to appropriations. Bonilla.
Aye.
Bonilla, I. Jones.
Aye.
Jones, I. Baker. Baker, I. Bloom. Bloom, I. Burke. Burke, I. Chang. Chang, I. Dodd. Dodd, I. Eggman. Gatto. Gatto, I. Holden. Holden, I. Mullen. Mullen, I. Ting. Ting, I. Wilk. Wilk, I. Wood. Wood, I. 13-0.
15-0, that measure, 13-0, that measure is out. I'm driving your staff crazy, I apologize. Next is item number 5, AB 179.
Thank you.
And we have a motion and a second.
I would say that I accept the committee amendments. This is extending the sunset date for the dental board to January 1, 2020, and it extends the sunset date for the Board of Vocational Nursing and Psychiatric Technicians from January 2016 to January 1, 2018. It also addresses the dental boards operating with a structural deficit. It proposes to increase statutory fee caps across most licensure categories to let the board begin to recover its costs, to help solve its structural imbalance and build a healthy reserve. The fee caps are intended to last the board for multiple years, and any actual increase would need to go through a regulatory process, ensuring additional oversight and public participation. In addition, the committee amendments would limit the dentist license fee to $800 and stagger that fee. Last year, the dental board recalibrated the practical examination for registered dental assistants, which led to an alarming decline in passage rates. If you recall, during Sunset, we heard this issue, and it was of great concern to me. Passage rates went from over 80% to less than 40%. The steep decline questions the validity of the examination and its ability to accurately measure a licensee's competency. This bill would impose a temporary one-year moratorium on the practical exam, during which time the dental board can properly evaluate the examination. Registered dental assistants would continue to meet other requirements for licensure, including the written examination. Committee amendments would place this language in another vehicle with an urgency clause. What we're really trying to make sure of here is that these people who are trying to get out into the job market are not held up, that they're able to go ahead and become employed. That's one reason for the urgency clause. They would not have to take the examination because I think it is clearly flawed. In addition, this bill only extends the sunset date for the Board of Vocational is it nursing? Yes, until January 1, 2018, based on concerns raised during the sunset review relating to its operations. This 2-year sunset date will ensure proper legislative oversight, so we're bringing them back sooner. Lastly, the bill also addresses an issue raised during sunset review for the BVNPT by merging the vocational nursing and the psychiatric technician funds to increase fiscal solvency. So there are a lot of different things in here. I ask for your aye vote. We have witnesses if you have questions.
And we do have a motion and a second. If there are quick comments from the witnesses in support, or if you'd just like to answer questions.
Good afternoon, Chair and members. Brianna Pittman with the California Dental Association. CDA values the committee's attention to the issues raised in the Dental Board Sunset Review Report. And since these amendments just went into print yesterday, we'll be reviewing those and look forward to providing feedback and working with both the committee, the Dental Board, and others as the bill continues to move. We appreciate the committee's extension of the spousal exemption in BNP code, which has existed for more than 20 years for physicians and surgeons to dentists who provide care to their spouses or domestic partners. Regarding increases in fees, while we know that a licensure fee cap needs to be reinstated, we have concerns that the proposed fees do not match the recently completed fee analysis. And we do really appreciate the board members taking a serious look at this for the first time in several years and for sharing the audit data. And we know that there needs to be more discussion about how fees are structured as this bill moves forward. And also of interest for CDA is the proposal to eliminate the RDA practical exam altogether. And we would like to better understand whether the bill is eliminating or just creating a moratorium.
It's creating a moratorium. The board can take up the issue of whether elimination is appropriate or not.
Okay, great. And so we support the additional scrutiny on this issue and would like to be considered as a stakeholder as this moves forward. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments in support of the bill?
Mr. Chairman, John Valencia for the Foundation for Allied Dental Education. It's an umbrella organization of dental assisting educators and practitioners in the community. We appreciate the Chair's focus on this measure. The train is run seriously off the rails in terms of the practical examination for registered dental assisting, and we strongly support the move to an urgency measure for attention on that matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Back to the table.
Kobe Bazada with the California Association of Psychiatric Technicians. We support the merger of the two funds, the BVNPT on the LVN and the PT funds. The BVNPT voted to merge the two funds back in 2012 when Ms. Chang was a board member. This is a good move. It helps protect the solvency, so we support.
Great, thank you. Other witnesses in support of the bill? Are there any witnesses in opposition to the bill? Seeing none, member comment? Mr. Wood?
Just a brief comment, and just a question which may be taken up at a later point, is that does the due structure, how does that ultimately compare to other professionals? Does 800 seems a little high? So, yeah, don't expect an answer now, but that's something that I would like to be answered. If you have an answer, that'd be great. So.
Pharmacists, I believe, is that what you're asking? What they currently pay for licensure fees?
Well, it seems like a high number. It's going from like 500 and something, I believe, to 800. So I'm just compared to other professionals like physicians or whatever. How does this compare in general?
Okay, physicians pay approximately $820 every 2 years for their licensure fees. I believe that pharmacists pay in that area or $900 every 2 years. Assemblywoman Bonilla is carrying this bill for caps, so we do not anticipate that the fee is going to automatically jump from $525 to an exorbitant amount. And as we discussed in the past, we'll be using data to support what we need to do and looking at other fees at the same time.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Any other comments from members? Ms. Bonilla, would you like to?
Yes. We have been talking about the issue of fees for the last couple of years with the dental board, and one reason there's such a significant increase, there weren't adequate increases in the past, and that needs to be addressed. And so putting the cap at a higher rate hopefully will mean that we won't get into that situation. The board will not get into that situation again that they were in and having to do rapid increases. I asked to put in a staggered cap so that we wouldn't, reassure dentists we weren't just going to jump all the way to the top of the cap right away. With that, I'd ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. All right. Call the roll.
Motion is due pass as amended to appropriations. Bonilla?
Aye.
Bonilla, aye. Jones?
Aye.
Jones, aye. Baker? Aye. Baker, aye. Bloom?
Aye.
Bloom, I. Burke, Burke, I. Chang, Chang, I. Dodd, Dodd, I. Eggman,
Wilk.
Gatto, Gatto, I. Holden, Holden, I. Mullen, Mullen, I. Ting, Ting, I. Wilk, Wilk, I. Wood, Wood, I.
13-0, your measure's out.
Okay, we're going to keep the roll open for a few minutes for those members who need to add on. Let's start at the beginning. All of our bills on call have already been moved out, so we'll begin with, which one are we beginning with? Item number 2. Let's see, could I get that list back? That's helpful. All right, item number 2, Bonta's Bill AB 34. Please call the roll.
Mullen, Mullen, I.
Item number 4. Well, let's just do consent. You guys consent?
Burke, Burke, I. Dodd,
Consent.
consent. Dodd, I. Holden, Holden, I. Mullen, Mullen, I. Ting, Ting, I.
All right, we did consent. Now we'll go on to item number 4, AB 178. Oh, we just did that. Oh, okay. 178, item number 4.
Eggman, Eggman, I.
Item number 5, IAB 179.
Eggman, Eggman, I.
Item number 8, AB 266, Cooley.
Chang, Chang, I. Holden, Holden, I. Mullen, Mullen, I. Ting, Ting, I.
Number 9, AB 333, Melendez.
Chang, Chang, I. Holden, Holden, I. Mullen, Mullen, I. Ting, Ting, I.
Number 11, AB 525, Holden and Atkins.
Eggman, Eggman, I.
12, AB 623, Wood.
Bonnier,
Aye.
Bonnier, I. Mullen, Mullen, I.
You did 13. Does anyone need to add on to AB 708? No. 14, Gomez, AB 757. Got everybody? 15, AB 808, Ridley Thomas.
Burke, Holden, Holden, I. Mullen, Mullen, I. Ting, Ting, I.
890, Ridley Thomas.
Everybody?
17, AB 1092, Mullen.
I have everybody.
AB 1182, Santiago.
Have everybody.
Holden for music therapy, AB 1279.
Bonnier,
Aye.
Bonnier, I. Baker, Baker, I. Mullen, Mullen, I.
Item 20, AB 1306, Burke.
Eggman, Eggman, I. Mullen, Mullen, I. Ting, Ting, I. Wilk, Wilk, I.
That's it?
Yes.
Thank you. Yes. Is it consent? No, it's not. 18, no, they're not. 18 is Santiago. Burke, 20, you said? That's consent. Yes. Uh-huh. Thank you, and with that, everyone's added, right? Yes. We adjourn the meeting.